The Forbidden Question at the Galactic Academy. The Galactic Academy was a place of peace, science, and respect. Students from hundreds of alien worlds came here to study and learn from each other. The air inside the academy halls always smelled clean. The walls glowed softly and voices echoed in dozens of languages. But today, something strange was about to happen. Illyri, a young alien girl from the planet Cyrillon, sat in her xenobiology class. She had purple skin, bright silver eyes, and two thin tendrils that moved slowly behind her head. She was always curious, more curious than most. And there was one thing she couldn't stop thinking about for days. Her thoughts always returned to the humans. They were strong, emotional, and very different from the rest of the galaxy. One human student sat just a few rows ahead of her. His name was Jace. He was calm, quiet, and sometimes gave her a look like he knew what she was thinking. Today's lecture was about reproductive systems of different species. Professor Harnox, an old bird-like alien with white feathers and a robotic eye, stood at the front of the class. Different species have different cycles, the professor explained. Most mammals, for example, must rest for days, even weeks, between their mating periods. Others, like the Gelvani, only reproduce once every 10 years. Illyri raised her hand slowly. Professor? Yes? Illyri? Harnox asked, blinking slowly. Her voice shook slightly, but she asked the question anyway. I read somewhere that humans can mate every day. Is that true? How do they not break? The entire class went silent. Some students gasped. Others turned their heads. A few giggled. Professor Harnox dropped the data tablet he was holding. Illyri, that question is highly inappropriate for this setting. I'm just curious, she said quickly. From a scientific point of view. Then perhaps, came a voice from the front row, you should ask a human. It was Jace. He turned around in his chair, one eyebrow raised, a smirk on his face. The class burst into whispers. Some students laughed. Others looked shocked. Illyri felt her cheeks burn with heat. I didn't mean... Jace stood up slowly. If you really want to know, meet me after class. I'll explain everything. Scientifically. The professor frowned but didn't stop him. Class dismissed. As the students left, whispers followed Illyri down the hallway. She asked that question. She wants to know how humans... Maybe she likes him. Illyri's heart pounded. What had she done? She walked quickly to her room and tried to calm herself. But the curiosity didn't stop. It only grew stronger. What if there was more to humans than anyone understood? What if their bodies held secrets that science hadn't yet explored? Later that evening, her message tablet lit up. One new message from Jace. Meet me at the library observation deck, midnight, alone. She hesitated, but then she smiled. At midnight, she arrived at the deck. The stars outside the glass ceiling looked close enough to touch. Jace was already there, leaning against the railing, looking out at the stars. You came, he said. Of course. I want to know the truth. He turned to face her. His smile was kind, but there was something else in his eyes. Amusement? Confidence? You really want to know how humans can do it every day without breaking? Illyri nodded seriously. Jace chuckled. All right, but let's start with something simple. Do you know how many muscles the human body has? No. Over 600, and that's just muscles. Our bodies were built for endurance. You've heard of Earth's marathon runners? We're not just strong, we're built for repeat performance. Daily. Even more than that. Illyri's eyes widened. But doesn't it hurt? Don't you get tired? He grinned. Tired, yes. But it's not just about the body, it's about the mind, the heart, and something else. Instinct. She pulled out her holopad. I want to record this conversation for study. He raised an eyebrow. Are you writing a paper? Maybe. Well, then your paper's going to be interesting, Jace said, walking closer. But be warned. Once you learn about us humans, it's hard to unlearn. We're more than just what you read in books. She looked up at him, her voice quiet. I want to understand everything. And in that moment, under the stars of the Academy, a question once laughed at became the beginning of something bigger. An investigation, a mystery, and maybe something deeper between two very different beings. Private lessons from a human Illyri had never broken a rule before, but tonight she was walking alone through a dark corridor of the Academy, heading straight for a restricted wing. Her hands trembled as she clutched her holopad. She could still hear the echoes of her classmates laughing, whispering, calling her curious. Or worse. But Jace wasn't laughing. He had invited her. He had said, "Midnight, come alone." She wasn't sure what scared her more, breaking the rules, or what she was about to learn. The restricted wing was dim, lit only by soft blue lights running along the ceiling. At the end of the hallway, the door to the observation deck hissed open. Jace was already there, leaning against the long window, stars reflecting in his dark eyes. "You made it," he said, not turning around. "You were serious?" Illyri asked. Jace turned slowly. "You asked a serious question." She stepped inside. The door shut behind her. She felt suddenly trapped, but also excited. "You said humans could do it every day. I want to know how that's possible." "For science," she added quickly. He chuckled. "Of course, for science." Jace walked over to a terminal and brought up a hologram of the human body. Muscles, nerves, circulation, all glowing blue in the air. "Let's start simple," he said. "The reason humans don't break is because we're built to bend." Illyri tilted her head. "Bend? Our muscles and joints are flexible. Our nerves adapt. And our brain keeps pushing, even when the body wants to stop." He zoomed in on a section of the hologram. This area, pelvic muscles, blood flow, nerves, all of it works together like a machine. Illyri nodded slowly, fascinated. "But here's the thing," Jace added, looking at her seriously. "It's not just physical. The real reason humans can go every day is because of this." He pointed to the heart. "Emotion?" Illyri asked. Jace nodded. "Connection. We aren't just mating. We're bonding. Even when we don't mean to." That made her pause. Her species didn't bond during mating. It was a biological act, nothing more. "But then," she whispered, "doesn't it make it dangerous?" "Yes," he said. "That's what makes it beautiful. And scary." They sat down, and he began to explain more. He showed her hormone cycles, recovery time, stamina records. He even showed medical studies proving human males could endure repeated sessions without harm, if healthy. Illyri recorded every word. "You're different from most aliens," Jace said, watching her eyes shine with curiosity. "They ask questions, but don't really want answers, you do." Illyri blushed slightly. "I want to understand everything, all the details, no matter how strange." Jace leaned in just a little. "Even the parts that aren't in books?" She hesitated, then nodded. He smiled. "Then I'll tell you something no alien has ever heard. A human secret." She leaned forward, wide-eyed. "It's not about strength. It's about rhythm. Our bodies adjust, they learn." "Learn what?" He gave her a sly look. "Each partner, each moment, the body listens, learns, remembers." She blinked. "That sounds like poetry," he laughed. "Some say mating is a science. Others say it's an art. Humans say it's both." But as they spoke, neither of them noticed the small light blinking on a security drone outside the deck window. They weren't alone. Somewhere in the surveillance room, a shadowy figure watched their conversation unfold. He narrowed his eyes and whispered, "So, the rumors are true. A human sharing his secrets with a Cerellian." He pressed a button. "Forward this to the council, immediately." Back at the deck, Jace stood and stretched. "Well, class is over," he joked. Illyri looked disappointed. "So soon?" I've already told you more than most humans ever would. She stood too. Thank you. Really. I understand now. Not everything, he said with a wink. But we've only just started. As Illyri turned to leave, Jace called out softly, "Be careful, Illyri. Curiosity can be dangerous in the galaxy." She looked back at him, a little shaken. Why? Because when you start asking forbidden questions, he said, you attract the kind of attention you don't want. The door slid open behind her. Cold air rushed in. Illyri stepped into the hallway, her mind buzzing with questions, theories, and feelings. She didn't see the figure watching her from the shadows. The research that shocked her planet. The moment Illyri pressed submit on her research file, she felt a strange chill in her spine. Her claws hovered over the holopad as the message flashed. Research sent. Central Bionet. Open access. She blinked. For a second she considered canceling it, but it was too late now. Her study was out there, her forbidden study. Titled, Human Male Reproductive Endurance, a Xenobiological Mystery. Back on her homeworld of Cyrillon, the first to open the report wasn't a scientist, it was a government scanner bot, and the moment it read the headline, it triggered a red alert. The news spread like wildfire. Cerulean student exposes human secrets. Humans capable of daily mating. Biological danger? Galaxy faces new threat? Within hours, the planetary communication network was flooded. Academies, military offices, even government leaders. Everyone wanted a copy of Illyri's work. Inside the Prime Research Council hall, members sat in a closed meeting. The High Matriarch stood, holding the report in one trembling hand. This human ability is real? She asked in disbelief. Dr. Keylor, the chief biologist, nodded slowly. Yes. It appears humans possess a regenerative stamina cycle. Unlike any species we've ever studied, they can endure every single day? The defense minister asked, as if repeating it would make it less shocking. And without mechanical enhancement, Keylor added, it's all natural. The room fell silent, until the matriarch slammed her hand down. Ban her. Cut off all contact. No more humans near our youth. This is a threat to moral and genetic order. Illyri never expected her report to cause such a storm. She sat alone in her dorm room at the academy, staring at her screen in shock. Banned. Her planet had removed her citizenship. They deleted her academic ID. Her family was ordered not to contact her again, all for one question, all for one study. A soft knock echoed on her door. It opened, and Jace stepped in, holding a steaming cup. I heard, he said quietly. Illyri didn't look up. They called me a traitor, a genetic rebel. Jace set the cup down. Because you told the truth? She nodded. Because I told your truth. Jace sat beside her. His presence was warm, steady. Illyri, I warned you. Curiosity can get you in trouble. I didn't think it would make me an outcast. He was silent for a moment. Then he leaned closer. What if I said you're not the only one who's been watching, studying? She turned slowly to him. What do you mean? I mean there are others, he said. Aliens, researchers, government agents, some who fear humans, and some who want humans. She swallowed hard. Want? In what way? They want to use us, or copy us, or breed with us. Her eyes widened. Breed? Jace stood and pulled up a secure channel on her screen. I've intercepted files, secret programs, experiments. There's an entire underground market studying human endurance and testing it on alien bodies. Illyri stood quickly. That's not science, that's slavery. Jace nodded. And that's why we need to leave. Leave the academy? She asked, whispering. He shook his head. Leave the planet. Illyri's breath caught in her throat. There's a place, Jace said. A hidden moon. A research outpost that doesn't follow the rules. Aliens and humans both go there. for knowledge, and sometimes more. Why would I go there? Because you're already marked. They'll never let you go home, and you're too smart to stop asking questions. Illyri looked into his eyes. They weren't just eyes anymore. They were dangerous and full of truth. Will you come with me? She asked softly. He smiled. I already booked the ship. As they prepared to leave, someone else was watching again. Back in the shadows of the surveillance room, the same figure who reported Illyri earlier tapped a claw on his screen. Target is on the move. Contact the collectors. She's not just a researcher anymore, she's proof. Meanwhile, Illyri and Jace slipped into a small transport pod, leaving the academy behind. The stars above them opened wide like a doorway, and Illyri whispered to herself, I only wanted answers. But now, I might discover much more than I ever expected. The test lab, hidden on a pleasure moon no stars, shined over the moon called Veltraxis. It was hidden between the shadows of 3 dead planets. No maps showed it, no patrols visited. But every species in the galaxy whispered about it. Some called it a scientific station, others called it a forbidden lab, but many called it the pleasure moon. That's where Jace was taking Illyri. As the shuttle drifted through thick radiation clouds, Illyri's fingers tightened on her seat. Are we safe? She asked, her voice shaking. Jace didn't look scared. In fact, he looked too calm. Not exactly, he replied, checking the coordinates. But we'll learn the truth here. About your research. About what others are doing to humans. About what they're willing to pay. Illyri blinked. Pay? For what? For endurance. For us. The ship landed on a dark silver platform, surrounded by neon lights and thick vines crawling up the walls. As they stepped out, dozens of eyes watched from the shadows. Illyri saw beings of all shapes, reptilian, insectoid, even mist-like creatures with glowing cores. But it wasn't the aliens that shocked her. It was the humans. Some were walking freely, wearing relaxed clothes and smiling. Others were behind, transparent barriers being scanned, tested. What is this place? Illyri whispered. A black site research station, Jace said. But some call it a mating market. She looked at him in horror. You brought me to a brothel? No, he said calmly. I brought you to the truth. Inside the main hall, they were greeted by a tall woman with silver eyes and a voice like wind chimes. I am Zara, she said, smiling. You must be the Cerellian girl and the brave human causing such a stir in the data streams. Illyri stepped forward. We came to learn. I wrote a paper. I didn't expect it to go this far. Zara chuckled. That paper made you famous, darling, and made the buyers hungry. Jace interrupted. We're not for sale. Zara tilted her head. Then why are you here? Illyri answered softly. To prove that humans aren't just tools, they're people. Zara's smile faded. Then she turned and led them deeper into the moon's core. They entered a testing chamber. Clear walls, clean floors, warm lights. It didn't feel like a prison. It felt like a luxurious lab. Zara clapped her hands. A group of alien females stepped into the room, each from a different world. Some tall with fur, others small with glimmering scales. All of them had one thing in common, curiosity in their eyes. These, volunteers, Zara said, wish to verify your report. They want to understand the truth. Through peaceful trials, of course. Illyri stepped between Jace and the aliens. He's not. This is wrong. Jace gently touched her shoulder. Let me. Are you crazy? I'm proving your theory, on my terms. And so the tests began. The aliens asked questions, took scans, watched carefully. Illyri stayed by Jace's side through it all. The others were shocked by his heart, rate, his stamina, his rapid recovery time. After hours, one scientist from a feline species stood back and muttered, Impossible. He's still ready. Another scribbled notes. We must sequence this. A third one whispered, What else can humans do? But none of them were prepared for what Illyri saw. Jace wasn't just enduring, he was teaching. Explaining consent, trust, and connection. He didn't let anyone treat him like a lab rat. He was proud, strong, human. Later, as the chamber emptied, Zara approached. "He has proved your report, and more," she said quietly. "But now you must leave." "Why?" Illyri asked. "Because not everyone came here to learn. Some came to own." She handed Illyri a chip. "This contains data from dozens of illegal tests done on humans. Your report caused a war in the shadows, now they'll want you." As they left the moon behind in a new ship, Illyri sat in silence, holding the chip tightly. She had come looking for answers. But now, she had something far more dangerous. Proof. And the galaxy was not ready. Jealous scientists and a dangerous plan. The first threat didn't come with a weapon. It came as a compliment. "Your human is impressive," the insectoid researcher hissed, its eyes glowing like molten glass. "Too impressive." Illyri stood, protectively in front of Jace. They had just returned from the tests on Veltraxis and were staying at a neutral space station. But news had already spread. Every lab, noble house, and shadow syndicate across the galaxy now knew one thing. A Cerellian girl had found a human male who broke all limits, and not everyone was happy. Inside a private lab hidden beneath the station, 4 alien scientists met in secret. A tall reptilian banged its tail on the floor. "She exposed secrets we weren't ready to share. She made the humans valuable," snarled the mist being. "Now everyone wants one." An armored female from a moon of ice slammed a data crystal onto the table. "This one named Jace. He's no ordinary human. If his endurance is real, he's the key." The 4th scientist, a cold-looking hybrid named Dr. Velk, simply smiled. "Then let's break him." Back on the station, Illyri was reviewing files Zara had given her. Jace sat beside her, sharpening a strange old Earth-made blade he always carried, his version of relaxation. "We stirred something up," he said quietly. Illyri didn't look up. "They're calling you the infinite male. Some planets are even offering trade deals for your DNA." Jace whistled. "That's flattering and terrifying." Just then, the door chimed. Before they could react, the wall slid open. 4 armed guards stepped in, followed by a smiling Dr. Velk. "Good evening," Velk said. "We have an offer for you." They were taken to a massive chamber deep inside the station, round, sterile, and humming with energy. In the center stood a glowing platform with medical pods. Illyri's heart dropped. "What is this?" Velk motioned calmly. "A public endurance trial. Nothing painful, nothing illegal. Just proof." Jace narrowed his eyes. "Proof of what?" Velk's smile grew colder. "That even you have limits." One by one, alien, females from elite species stepped into the chamber. Each one had been carefully selected by Velk's team. Warriors, hunters, even priestesses, known for their strength, agility, and high expectations. Illyri stepped forward. "You can't do this. He's not a machine." Velk raised a hand. "He volunteered when he stepped into this world. Now we simply want to verify the hype." Jace turned to Illyri and whispered, "Let them come. I'm not doing this to prove anything. I'm doing it to end their games." She gripped his hand. "Be careful." He smiled. "Always." The first trial began, then the second, then the third. The crowd behind the glass watched in awe as Jace pushed through each test, not just with endurance but with respect and control. He never acted like a prize. He acted like a man who knew his worth. But by the 7th trial his breathing grew heavy. Illyri banged on the glass. "Stop this." Velk leaned back in his chair. "Fascinating. He's still not broken." Jace collapsed to one knee, but he smiled. "I'm not done yet." Suddenly alarms blared. A hidden ship, unmarked, had docked at the station. The system went into lockdown. Power flickered. A deep voice echoed through the intercom. Release. The human. He belongs to us now. Illyri's eyes widened. What? Who are they? Velk paled. Collectors. Jace pushed himself up, groaning. Guess word spread too far. Velk looked afraid now. They'll take him, clone him, use him, over and over. Illyri growled, surprising even herself. Not if I stop them. With chaos erupting outside, Illyri grabbed Jace and bolted through a service tunnel. Her mind raced. How had one scientific question turned into a galactic war? They reached the hangar, but guards blocked the exit. That's when Jace, bleeding, tired but still standing, stepped forward. Get behind me, he said. Illyri whispered. You're too weak. He glanced at her with a grin. I'm human. Remember? And with one last push of strength, he charged. They escaped the station in a stolen scout ship, flames lighting up the stars behind them. Illyri wrapped his arm around her shoulders, his breathing heavy, but steady. You should rest, she whispered. Jace chuckled weakly. Can't. Apparently I'm a galactic treasure now. She smiled. Maybe. But to me, you're just the answer to one forbidden question. The secret truth behind human biology. The galaxy thought it knew humans, but deep in a cold, silent chamber hidden beneath the ruins of an abandoned asteroid lab, the truth was still buried. And now, that truth had a heartbeat. Jace groaned as he lay on a padded bench inside the stolen ship. His shirt was soaked in blood. His face was pale, but his eyes were open and alert. Illyri hovered beside him, pressing, a cooling patch on his chest. You shouldn't have fought them alone, she whispered. I didn't, he said, voice weak. You were there. She looked away, trying to hide her emotions. Jace had nearly died. Again. And this time it wasn't just science that had pushed him to the edge. It was politics, power, greed. After escaping the attack at the space station, Illyri had sent a desperate signal. It wasn't to the Academy, not to her homeworld. She had called the archivists. They were old, silent, neutral. They didn't take sides, but they knew the past. Now their small ship floated above a forgotten asteroid, where an ancient human vessel had crashed thousands of years ago, long before humans ever knew how to travel the stars. The archivist's voice crackled through the comm. Enter, but only if the human is ready to learn the truth of what he really is. Inside the dark hall, strange machines pulsed slowly. Symbols glowed on the walls, human letters mixed with alien script. It looked like a temple, but colder. Jace limped forward with Illyri's help. A tall figure in a long robe stood waiting. Its face was hidden, but its voice was clear. You wonder why your kind can mate daily, why your endurance defies logic, why even the strongest alien warriors fall behind your rhythm. Jace nodded. Yeah, been wondering. The figure turned. Because you were made that way. Illyri gasped. Made? The figure nodded. Your ancestors did not evolve this trait naturally. It was designed, programmed, modified. Jace frowned. By who? By us, the archivist said. Or rather, our creators. Long ago, before the rise of galactic empires, ancient ones wanted a race of beings who could endure. Not just pain, not just war, but passion, love, rebirth. Illyri's voice trembled. They engineered humans to mate endlessly? Yes, the figure said. You were the chosen seed, meant to spread, to bond, to unify. And the most powerful part of you is not the body, but your emotional connection, the ability to bond, to protect, to love. Jace stepped back. So, we're a project, a weapon? The archivist shook its head. Not a weapon, a legacy. It pointed to a glowing pod in the corner of the room. Inside it, a preserved corpse of a human ancestor floated. Muscles massive, nerves dense, skin perfectly preserved. This is the first male, the prototype. Jace stared at it. It looked almost like him, only stronger. Wilder. Illyri was silent, her eyes fixed on the ancient body. So all this time, she whispered, humans weren't weak. You weren't behind. You were ahead. Jace took a deep breath. Then why hide it? The archivist's voice darkened. Because power attracts danger, and what your body holds is a power few understand. That's why the collectors chase you. That's why they want to clone you. Not for lust, but for control. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the temple walls. The archivist turned sharply. They found us. Illyri grabbed Jace. We have to leave. But Jace stood tall now, blood still on his shirt but fire in his eyes. No, I'm done running. He turned to the archivist. Is there a way to activate what's inside me? The robed figure paused. There is a ritual, painful, ancient, but if you survive, then you'll become what they fear most. Jace looked at Illyri. She didn't speak. She just nodded. I'll be here, she whispered. Always. Jace stepped onto the glowing circle, and as the ritual began, light swirled around him, ancient energy flowed through his veins, and the galaxy's forgotten truth awakened again. Inside the last descendant of a design never meant to be discovered. Her report ends with a kiss. The galaxy would remember this day not because of a war, not because of a death, but because of a kiss. Jace stood in the middle of the ancient temple, his chest glowing faintly, like embers under skin. The ritual was over. He didn't look different, but something inside him had changed forever. He wasn't just human anymore. He was the living proof of a secret buried for 1,000 generations. Proof that love, endurance, and connection were not weaknesses, but the greatest strengths in the universe. Outside the temple, ships circled like vultures. The collectors were coming. The council had dispatched enforcers. Even bounty hunters from the outer rings had followed their signal, all for one man, one human. Illyri stood beside Jace, a protective hand on his arm. I uploaded the final report, she whispered. Everything, your biology, the truth about your species, the ritual, it's spreading faster than I imagined. Jace looked at her with calm eyes. Good. They'll want to take you, she said. Or worse, make more of you. He smiled gently. They can try, but now they'll know the truth. They can't clone what makes us human. She blinked. What do you mean? He touched her hand softly. It's not just about the body. It's the bond. That's what they'll never copy. That's what they'll never understand. A loud bang shook the temple. The walls cracked. Lights flickered. They're inside, Illyri shouted. Jace turned to face the door. Get behind me. But Illyri shook her head. Not this time. We do this together. The heavy doors exploded inward, and the first wave of mercenaries charged. But what they saw stopped them in their tracks. Jace wasn't glowing with power. He wasn't holding a weapon. He was holding her hand. And when they stepped forward as one, unafraid, steady, united, the crowd paused. Because for the first time, they saw it. The true human power wasn't strength. It was love without fear. They didn't fire. They didn't fight. One by one, the attackers lowered their weapons. A few even dropped to their knees. They had come for a prize. Instead, they witnessed a legend. Hours later, the temple was empty again. Peace had returned. The Ow. Collectors fled. The council fell silent. And Illyri's report was now the most read document in Galactic Academy history. She sat under the stars, typing the final sentence. Humans are not dangerous because they endure daily. They endure because they love daily. She saved the file, paused, and turned to Jace. You still okay? She asked. He laid beside her, arm behind his head. Just wondering what happens now, she smiled. Now? We go home. Where's that? She leaned close and whispered. Wherever you are. Jace chuckled. That sounds like a line from one of those Earth movies. She tilted her head. Maybe, but I mean it. He turned, to face her. You really want to be with a guy who caused galactic panic, Over his tool? She blushed. I didn't fall for the tool. Then she leaned in, her voice soft. I fell for the heart. And just like that, in the quiet glow of ancient starlight, a human and an alien girl sealed the galaxy's greatest report with a kiss. The end.